Today's video, we're going to talk about how to set a target ROAS or tROAS. What you need to know before you do this in your account. Basically switching your bidding strategy from manual bidding to tROAS. Or if you're already using tROAS or target ROAS bidding, which is maximize conversion value bidding type or strategy, what you need to know about getting the most out of your account with and in using this bidding strategy, and what you need to know about making changes to your target ROAS to not screw up your account and maximize the profit from your account. This applies to business and service, or product and service companies here. Why? Because you can use offline conversion tracking for service companies to import the sales to your account and then use tROAS to optimize your account very, very, very effectively, because you can essentially then see how much profit's coming from this device versus that device, or this time of day versus that time of day, and Google's algorithm will optimize for more profit on an ongoing basis versus just more leads at a cheaper cost, which is not ideal in comparison, at least. So of course, if you want to change your campaign from manual bidding to the tROAS, you just go to settings, and then under settings on that campaign, go to bidding. You can change it to maximize conversion value. That's how to do it if that's what the information you were looking for. How to get the most out of your maximize conversion value tROAS bidding strategy is what the rest of this video is going to be about. Most people do not think about how to, using tROAS and what it's actually like and for. Most people think upon learning about it that it's a way to get an exact amount of ROI from their ad account without having to do any thinking or any work. Such as, if you're looking for an 800% return on investment from Google Ads, they think, oh great, Google's made this easy. I just have to set my target ROAS to 800% and Google will do all the hard work for me, and I'll get all these customers and then they'll come in at a great ROI. This is awesome. The reality is, that's not how it works. Okay? In general, long term, that can be how it works, but it's not just like flipping a switch like that in order to get things to work. And by the way, if it were that easy, your competition would have already been doing it a long time ago, and or there just would be no differentiator there. Everybody else in your niche could do it as well, assuming they had the same products or services as you had. And there's no, everybody can't make money. Google Ads, everybody knows about it today. If everybody could go in with this same strategy, there would be some people would still have to get the customers and other people wouldn't. Or you would get a small fraction and there would be 50,000 people trying to do it. Eventually it would make no money anyway. In order to make money with online advertising, you got to get off your butt and do what more people aren't willing to do, or understand more about how to get results out of Google Ads than your competition. And basically, generally speaking, it takes a combination thereof. At least when you're talking about maximize conversion value and tROAS bidding, mostly it's just understanding how this feature works, and to get the most out of it, you can, so that you actually do beat your competition through the use of this tool. The tROAS should really be thought of like a lever that will get you more or less action from your account based upon where you set it. The higher the target ROAS setting you have in your campaign, assuming your tracking's all working the way that it's supposed to, the less clicks you're going to get. The lower you set it, the more clicks you're going to get. It's really, that in itself, it really is the case, and it really is that simple. Of course, you should know about what return on investment you need from Google Ads to make it profitable after all your expenses and all that. And then once you know that, you can set your tROAS up to get you that return. It's just not so straightforward, and you have to do a little bit more thinking. Why? Because Google massively undercounts the conversions that your account says that it's getting. So, it undercounts by 1/3 to 2/3 depending on what market you're in, and mainly depending on how expensive your product or service is. So if you're selling a $20 broom, people either buy that right away when they get to your site after clicking on one of your ads from Google Ads, or they don't. So Google's tracking systems, they have to track the revenue that you have coming in from your ads, from people who have clicked on your ads, is very efficient. It will track most of the sales. Not all, but a good percentage. Probably 70-80%. On the flip side, if you're selling products that are $1,000 each, Google will do a terrible job at tracking all the sales for multiple reasons, mainly because people don't buy right away. And the longer it takes from somebody to initially get to your site to the time they buy, the less is going to get picked up by Google's tracking system. And therefore, the less it's going to show you're getting sales in your account. And so where I'm going with this is if you have a target ROAS setting here of like 800%, because you know mathematically you need $8 in sales for every dollar you spend on ads to be viable, to run a viable operation at your company. And you see Google says you're only generating $3 in sales for every $3 in sales for every dollar that you're spending on ads. Where most people would see that and panic and shut their ads down and say it doesn't work, you're not going to do that because you know that Google greatly undercounts the amount of sales you're actually getting because of how their flaws with cookie tracking, people switching devices before they buy, people being at work and then buying at home, people being on Apple devices where the tracking doesn't work. There's all these reasons why what Google says you're making is not what you're really making, and you're going to account for that in your calculations as to what your target ROAS setting should be. Okay? And like I said, the more expensive your product or service you're selling, the more it's going to undercount. Know that the average is going to undercount by 1/3 to 2/3. So if you're seeking an 8-to-1, really what you should be looking at is an account that says 4-to-1. But it could be that your account simply has to say like 2.75-to-1 for that to actually mean an 8-to-1 return once you factor all the sales Google can't count and that are actually going to come in, and trickle in later on that Google's not essentially going to pick up or see. Okay? With that said, like I said, you could just turn on your target ROAS bidding from, if you're using manual bidding now, to set a manual bid on each keyword by going under settings of each campaign. And then with that, I would recommend, because it's going to ask you when you go ahead and do that, what do you want the target ROAS setting to be? And they'll have a suggestion of where to start out. I recommend going with that and then waiting a few days to see what happens. Why that? Because that'll keep the clicks that you have coming in pretty much consistent. And from there, then you could make a more serious setting of your target ROAS to get you the ROI that you need to be profitable. So with that said, because Google undercounts the conversions you're going to get, as I mentioned before, what you want to do is you want to divide the total sales at your company divided by the total ad spend you're spending on Google Ads to find where your tROAS or target ROAS setting should actually be. And people, by the way, don't like to do this because they say, well, how do I know Google Ads is actually giving me my sales here? And you necessarily don't. But because Google undercounts, you still have no choice. What you're trying to do is just get a read to where if Google says I'm getting this, this is actually where I'm at. Really, it's that simple. Once you have that read, and then it becomes really easy to know what to set your target ROAS setting so that you get the maximum sales at the minimum ROI that you actually want from your Google Ads account. As a side, by the way, I don't recommend turning on target ROAS bidding until you have at least 30 sales that have been picked up by your conversion goal, because it needs a certain minimum amount of data. Some people say this has to be like 100 a month or 1,000 a month. No. You'll get more results out of your account using maximize conversion value setting, bidding strategy, as long as you have at least 30 conversions in your account. If you wanted to be super conservative, yeah, you could probably say like 30 per campaign and just change over the campaigns that have at least 30 sales on them. But for the most part, the machine learning systems that Google has is so good now, it will beat manual bidding by a large margin, and so much so that it can already start to be better than manual bidding after a minimal amount of data has been collected by your account, conversion data. Anyway, so if you find that, ultimately it looks like you're spending, $1 in Google Ads per $10 of sales revenue that you have coming in your company overall. That's what they call a 10 MER ratio. At that point in time, if a 10-to-1 ratio is profitable, you're sitting pretty. But if to where you're spending 10% of your sales on marketing cost, essentially. If you go ahead and you find out you're only bringing in $5 worth of sales for every dollar that you're spending on Google Ads, and it has to be at least an 8 with your product costs, with your service costs, and your overhead, then you got to make some adjustments to your target ROAS setting. In that kind of a situation, if you need to have a ratio of 8-to-1, and you're currently getting a 6-to-1, then it's really simple what to do. You take your target ROAS setting in your account and you raise it by 25%, so that Google is going to start to cut out parts of the clicks that you're getting that are the least efficient, leave the 75% there that is the most efficient, and then now you'll start getting the $8 in sales revenue for every dollar you're spending on ads, and what you'll have is viable at that point in time. Yes, you'll get less sales than before, but at least you'll have the minimum ROI to be profitable, and you're not essentially working for free in your business. With that said, once that's done, if you just wait enough time, Google's algorithm will figure out how to get you more customers, do some more testing on their end with their ad serving algorithm, and eventually you'll be able to raise your budget 10 or 20%, maybe 90 days down the road, and have your sales go up a proportional amount so that you're still getting that 8-to-1 return of total sales of 80,000 versus $10,000 a month in ad spend, if you get my point. So it's not a matter if you'll get a good ROI if you have something halfway decent to sell. It's just a matter of how many sales can I get at the ROI I want. And when you can look at what your total sales are doing as a proportion of your ad spend, then you just simply have to decide how much you're going to raise that target ROAS setting on your account to dial in the type of ROI that you want, like I was talking about before. So, unemotionally, you're not going to care what the target ROAS itself says. You're simply going to use the target ROAS as like a dial to dial up how aggressive that you're running your ads, so that you don't go overly aggressive to the point where the sales are coming in at such a low ROI that you're not even profitable running those ads for your company. And then once you got that dialed in, like I said, you're going to wait some time, and eventually, ultimately, Google will find you new customers, and you'll start growing your sales again. So initially you might have to cut out some ad spend, but then Google's algorithm will start testing stuff and then start building your sales back up. But this time, at the ROI that you're looking for out of Google Ads as a whole. I will tell you, as a side, shopping campaigns, if you're running those typically show the conversion tracking for that is going to be less undercounting than like a search campaign will be, or a display campaign especially. Why? Because people that click on shopping ads are more ready to buy now than a text ad. Doesn't mean text ads are not profitable. Just assume that the undercounting that it does, it's going to be less with the shopping than a search campaign. So ultimately, if you want to do some dialing in, if you will, in addition to what I mentioned that we're going to do on our clients' campaigns to get the most sales we can at the ROI that we need, I would play with that target ROAS setting on the shopping campaign by itself and then see how the sales react. And then once I got a pretty good read on that, then I'm going to do just the search campaigns and then just the shopping campaigns, or just the display campaigns that I have. Why? Because each one performs drastically different than the other. That's how we're going to be able to maximize the sales out of our ad account that's available to us at the ROI that we need to be profitable still. So, with that said, if you're not getting the ROI that you want in terms of total sales to ad spend, that you need to be viable to keep running your ads, if you're already getting the forgot what I just said. If you're not getting the ROI that you want, like I said, then you're going to simply raise the target ROAS by a certain amount to get the ROI to the minimum point that you need. If you're doing better than the ROI that you need, let's say you've figured out before you started your ads that you need an 8-to-1 return on Google Ads to make it viable for your company. You, through this exercise, figure out that you're really bringing in $10 in sales for every dollar of ad spend already. At that point in time, you may say, great, I'm getting an even better return than I need. And what I'm telling you is, no, you would actually probably make more actually lowering your target ROAS, so you start getting more clicks, going back to that dial concept, therefore getting a lot more sales. Yes, you'll have a less ROI on those sales, but you'll have proportionally so many more sales that it outweighs a lower ROI. And in that situation, you're going to have to just run some scenarios to see if actually lowering the target ROAS so you start getting more clicks is going to make you make more money than where you have a higher ROI but a lot less clicks. So to give you a quick example of this, what you could do if you found out you had a 10-to-1 return on your ad spend, 10-to-1 MER ratio, total sales at your company divided by ad spend on Google Ads as a whole, right? If you know you needed an 8-to-1 ratio to be profitable, and what you end up finding you have is a 10-to-1, and you were selling a $100 item, let's say, you could lower your target ROAS by 20%, right? In that scenario. And then you could just sit back and see what happens to your sales. If you were at 10-to-1 before and you were generating 10 sales a day at $100 a sale, you could lower your target ROAS by 20% on all your campaigns, and then you could wait 90 days and then you find out what your new ROI is. Maybe it's an 8-to-1 now. It's 8-to-1 still the minimum amount you need to be profitable, but you find out you have 30 sales a day instead of 10 sales a day. And so the way the math works out, because what you'll ultimately find, obviously, is each sale is going to cost more when you lower that target ROAS. So when you were doing 10 sales a day at a 10-to-1 return on ad spend, you actually had a 20% profit margin on that 1,000 a day in sales that you generated. 10 sales a day at $100 per transaction, $1,000 per day in sales. You had 20% profit margin. You actually had $200 a day in profit that you were generating when you had the 10-to-1 return and with the target ROAS setting that you had. When you went ahead and lowered the target ROAS by 20% to try to get more sales at a slightly less ROI, but still a ROI that's feasible and still profitable, you actually ended up tripling your sales. And that seems outlandish to say you can lower your target ROAS by 20% and triple your sales, but I promise you there's stuff like that often happens. And you just got to try it and see if it happens for you, because you could be missing out on a shitload of profit that you could have got easily if you just ran this experiment. So anyway, because you went from 10 sales a day to 30 sales a day, right? And with that, your 30 sales a day, even though instead of getting a 20% profit margin, you're getting a 10% profit margin now, because each sale is costing more in terms of ad spend to get. Your 30 sales a day at 100 a sale is $3,000 in revenue, 10% profit margin. You're making $300 a day in profit now. That $300 a day profit now is higher than the original $200 a day in profit that we were making before. So 10 sales at a 10-to-1 return was getting $200 a day in profit for us. 30 sales a day at an 8-to-1 return was bringing us $300 a day in profit. So you see what I'm saying here. You could use that target ROAS if you're doing better than what you know you need as a minimum ROI from your ad spend. Crank the target ROAS down a little bit and see how much your sales go up, and see if the sales go up enough to justify having a lower ROI. Because in a lot of cases you'll make more actual profit at the end of the day having the target ROAS lower, because target ROAS being lower means you get a lot more sales. The algorithm that Google has that looks for your your sales at a certain ROI or certain target ROAS, we'll be able to find you a lot more customers with it just being a little bit lower than it was before. So your goal is to figure out where's that sweet spot where you ultimately lowering the target ROAS gets you the most total profit from Google Ads. And for the most part, so really what you're doing is you're just finding out what profit margin you need, i.e. total sales divided by ad spend, seeing if you get it. If you are getting better than what you need, you're going to lower the target ROAS and then see what happens to your sales revenue. And if it goes up enough to justify the lower profit margin on each sale, then you keep it. And if not, you just reverse it back to the target ROAS setting you had before, and then you keep rolling with that you had originally for those campaigns that you have in your account. So it gets a little bit more complicated if you're doing better than the ROI that you know you need for your account. You have to run some scenarios. You might lower your target ROAS by 20%, and instead of in the scenario I gave you before, instead of a 10-to-1 return, you find you have a 9-to-1 return when 8-to-1 is profitable. So you might have to then lower. You find out that 9-to-1 was more profitable than 10-to-1. You can lower your target ROAS another 20% and find out your return is now 8-to-1, and then see if that 8-to-1 is more profitable than 9-to-1, and so forth, so on and so forth. So, in summary on this video, target ROAS is really just a dial that dials in and gets you more or less sales for your company by tapping into customers that are more or less profitable. And the higher the target ROAS setting, the less sales you're going to get. The lower the target ROAS setting, the more sales you're going to get. And there's a point where, there's law of diminishing returns where the sales are going to be so expensive that it makes no sense to get any more sales, and you want to test and see where that target ROAS setting should be on your campaigns so it gets you the most sales at a cost per sale that's still going to lead to you making more actual profit out of your account at the end of the day. So it's completely different than what most people think it's for, which is to tell you what your campaigns are making and then dial in a certain ROI that you want, because that's not, because of the undercounting of the conversion tracking and how the conversion tracking undercounts conversions, it can't do that. And so you just have to do some investigation on your end as to what your sales are coming in at, divide that by your ad spend, what you're spending, and get your ROI from your investment kind of that way. And you may have other marketing channels, so you may say, well, how do I do that? Because Google, I also got Facebook ads running. Realistically, what I say to clients in that scenario is, don't increase your Facebook ads, just keep running them. Jack up your ad spend by like 50% and then see what happens to your sales, because you can basically see then, at least easier, how much the Google ads is influencing your total sales, to find out if your Google ad, what ratio of sales to ad spend you're getting from Google ads specifically. Similarly, a lot of people make this mistake, but throughout the year, there's certain months that are just going to be better than others. So as you're trying to figure out what your ratio of sales to ad spend is, you want to break down the last 3 years' sales that you've had by month, because you want to ultimately kind of take into consideration what month that you're in, because you may see that you're getting a 10-to-1 return in July. That's because July is always better than June is, to kind of make your decisions here. I just will also throw that in there as well, so you don't make your false decisions. Because very few businesses, certain months of the year, aren't going to be better than other months, just because of the propensity of people buying during some months of the year versus others. So, if you really want to get the most out of your account, you use tROAS bidding or maximize conversion value bidding, and you use the target ROAS itself as a dial to dial in more or less traffic, and that and with your math that you can do to figure out the sweet spot on basically the lowest you can get your target ROAS setting to be, while still being to have to where you're not going backwards in terms of total profit, because you're getting more sales, but they're at such a low ROI it's not getting you more profit anymore. And that's pretty much it. So, if you're doing, like I said, also the service companies, you should really consider getting your sales imported into your account so you can use this method. So any business can use this process right here to get the maximum profit out of the Google ads for your account. It's just a matter of whether or not you go through the offline conversion tracking process that Google has offered us as advertisers to get your sales revenue into your account, so you can do that type of thing. And Google's algorithm is set up to get you as many sales as possible at the lowest possible cost per sale it can. And it's actively always doing that because it wants to provide Google's users, not you, but the users of Google itself, a better experience on an ongoing basis, providing more relevant ads on an ongoing basis. They're always testing to see if your ad should show or somebody else's or none at all. And if the right tracking set up, you know, ultimately Google's just going to keep finding you more sales. And respectively, that's why maximize conversion value bidding strategy is the one that's going to make you the most money. Because if they're optimizing for leads, they don't know how to get you a sale because they don't know what leads turn into sales. And furthermore, if you have no tracking, it's nowhere close to the the sales, the profit you can make with maximize conversion value bidding strategy. It gets super. I mean, it's literally seeing what the profit is from each individual aspect of your account, time of the day of the week, city, state, all of that, and then through the testing and data that they're gathering on an ongoing basis, getting more and more and more accurate about what they're doing for you on an ongoing basis. So they basically do more than half of the work for you in getting you results. You just have to set up the system correctly to feed the data the right way, and you have to be unemotional about what the account says that you're generating and focus more on what the total sales that your company is doing. And you'll make more money at your company doing things that way, figuring out what percentage of your total sales you can spend on ads, and then actively keep trying to spend more on ads while maintaining the ratio of total sales of your company to ad spend in check so that stays consistent. And then, like for an e-commerce company, we'll just seek to raise the ad spend 10 to 20% every quarter while maintaining the ratio of total sales of the company to total ad spend that we're spending at the company. And then if we keep raising the ad spend 20% a quarter, then we're doubling the sales every year. And it doesn't, in 5 to 7 years, we start out, for what we were making $300,000 the first year, we're now making $5 million a year. And we just did it one step at a time like that. That's how big, massive accounts and big fortunes are made, using your Google system working for you versus against you, constantly testing new people to show your ad to, not just new keywords, but because they are ultimately, as a last thing here, they look at thousands of traits of each individual user. So when you bid on 15 keywords, they're looking at the person who searched for red shoes that you're bidding on, and the people who bought versus didn't buy, and then deciding if your ad should show up for red shoes in the future, and specifically what people, male versus female, this device versus that device. And that's why your account will consistently get more profitable over time, because for Google to really know who buys from you and who doesn't buy from you, it takes millions of clicks in your account. And so when you go in and expecting a good return right away, it's basically a dumb thought, because Google, your competitors who have been there for years already, they've already built up all that data. Google already knows how to get them a return, who buys from them, and you're expecting, and therefore they can afford to pay more for a click than you, because they understand exactly what clicks are worth it for them and which ones are not. And you're coming in with no data and expecting to get the same return that they did, and you're behind so much at the start that you can't expect the same return, which is why you're going to invest what you can afford to lose, knowing that it might take 6 months of running your ads at $1,000 a month to just even hit your first point of profitability. And then you're going to go up to $2,000, $4,000, and so forth, scaling your account. But you may have to run your ads for 6 months or 12 months even sometimes just to get your ads profitable. And then every year you can then compound the money you're making every year by double, like I was saying, or whatnot, and then you really start making the good money. So just invest what you can afford to lose at the beginning, and then treat the thing like if you would die if this doesn't work. And if you stick with it like that, it's going to work. It's just a matter of when. I'll wrap it up with that though. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you liked the video, you should give the video a like and consider subscribing. as I have a ton of other content on this channel about how to make money with ads. It comes from somebody who just does ad strategy all day long for clients, in which we offer at our ad agency. With that said, if you like my work here, by the way, I have a blog at guaranteeppc.com/blog, as well as a column that I write over at entrepreneur.com. So if you like the channel, you'll love the blog. And all the information I share is coming from, straight from the horse's mouth, and not, filling you, blowing smoke up your butt, trying to sell you courses or, that kind of thing. So anyway, with that said, if you are looking for an ad manager, by the way, this is what I do. We guarantee results for our clients, and we're the only ones that I know that actually do that. In that, we'll guarantee so much sales for your account up front before we take any fees. And if we can't raise your sales at a minimum amount we promise, there is no fee. So if you're interested in that kind of deal, we can see if we can work together. Reach out to me at my firm. I'll give you a free analysis on what you have, what you're currently running, and see how much sales results we can promise you. Beyond that, if you don't want to work with an ad agency per se, we also sell campaign templates. We've worked in over 100 markets at this point in time. If we've worked in your market, you could simply take the ads and landing pages and everything that work for your market and just copy and paste them into your account. With that, we can tell you what results we've gotten in your market in a different geographic area that you're in, and then with that, what results you would get out of our templates, of which we spent, many times years building up results to get the winning version of the ads and everything that work for your market. So it would be silly not taking us up on our offer to get those when we've already spent all the money and all the time to figure out what works and what doesn't work in your space already. We've got people taking these templates and starting side companies, side hustles, selling leads, all this other stuff, starting e-commerce businesses if they weren't in that to begin with. It's a great way to start a business because if you have the winning ads that work before you start, you can't go wrong. But if you're interested in that, you can reach out to me at my firm at guaranteeppc.com as well. If you are looking for an ad agency, by the way, and don't want to pay agency fees, we're looking for volunteers where we can share the results that we get on somebody's campaign on this channel. So in exchange for totally free agency services, which we normally charge thousands of dollars for, we can just simply work on your account for free as long as you're willing to share what we've learned on your account on this channel. So we're taking applications for that now. You can reach out to us at Guarantee PPC. And similarly, one other way that you can potentially work with us is you can partner with our agency. We've partnered with several companies now where we just take a percentage of your sales growth and we do all the work to manage your ads, come up with your ads and everything on our end. We take 1 to 10% of the sales revenue growth at your company, and we're your marketing partner. So, and we can tell you about the experiences we had with other companies where we partnered up with already if you reach out to us at our firm. But with that, if you're interested in that kind of an offer, you can reach out and we can talk about that as well at guaranteeppc.com. Well, I'll wrap it up with that. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions about anything I covered here today, leave me a comment below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a comment on this channel, usually within a couple days' time. So, and you can ask me any question that you'd like, anything about ads, whatever. I'd love to be able to give back and put you on the right track with whatever you're doing. If you could like the video on the way out, it'd be appreciated. And I'll wrap it up with that. Hopefully, I'll see you on the next one. See you later.